What's going on, you guys? This is RBG, aka the Random Black Gamer, bringing you another video update on Michael Bay's Transformers movie. As this year draws to a close, we get more and more info confirming that he will indeed be returning to the franchise, as well as more clues on what this movie will entail. One of the biggest questions fans have is if this is going to continue where we left off with Rise of the Beast, or will Michael Bay double back around to his own continuity and continue where he left off with the Bayverse. And based on the information that I have today, it looks like it could potentially be the latter. But before we jump into today's topic, I want to ask you guys to do me the biggest favor and like this video. Yeah, I know it's a bit annoying getting this request at the very beginning of a video before you watch it in its entirety, but YouTube's algorithm encourages it. So if you rock with your boy and you know I'm going to bring you that awesome content, then smash that like button. And if by any chance you just so happen to be new to the channel and you feel like I've wasted 10 minutes of your time that you can't get back, feel free to retract that like and give it a dislike. Just rate the video. But yeah guys, Michael Bay is in full effect to direct the next Transformers film, and there have been so many questions around this. Exactly what type of Transformers movie does Michael Bay plan on directing? Could it be something animated like Transformers 1? Could he possibly be going back to the drawing board where Paramount originally pitched plans to do spin-offs for the Transformers, similar to how they did with Bumblebee before they veered off into another direction? Or could he be going back to where he originally started with his Bayverse continuity, which is where a lot of his longtime fans want him to go back to, because it seemed like just yesterday where Transformers were this big mega blockbuster that couldn't be stopped at the box office. Not only did they rake in Paramount billions of dollars, but they also played a major part in a resurgence for the Transformers brand, which resulted in more merchandise sales as well as new shows that would take inspirations from the live action films such as Transformers Prime. And I don't even want to waste any time just talking about something that's already been said in previous videos, but you already know how things worked out. People got tired of these movies. They got tired of the same formulaic explosions and human components that got more limelight than the actual stars these movies were named after, those being the Transformers. And although Paramount has tried to pivot in a different direction and try to pull back all those fans from the G1 and the Michael Bay era, nothing seems to work, and all the money that they're putting into these movies is going to waste because they're seeing diminishing returns at the box office. So now they've just had to go back to where they first started, which is having Michael Bay helm these projects again. And based on this recent interview we got from Tyrese Gibson, who we know as Major Epps from the Bayverse films, it looked like we could potentially be going back to that respective universe. This report comes from Who Let Us Out, who says, and I quote, "During the highly anticipated premiere of The Strangers Chapter 2, Tyrese Gibson dropped a major tease about his future with the Transformers franchise. When asked if he returned to the world of Autobots and Decepticons, Tyrese revealed that Michael Bay personally called him just last week, saying, and I quote, 'I was just on the phone with Michael Bay last week, so that's all I can tell you,' Tyrese said with a grin. As fans know, Gibson carved out his own space in the blockbuster series as U.S. Air Force Chief Master Sergeant Robert Epps. First appearing in Bay's 2007 Transformers, Tyrese quickly became a staple of the military squad, fighting alongside Optimus Prime. His mix of grit, humor, and loyalty grounded the action, even when skyscraper-sized robots leveled entire cities. He reprised the role in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen 2009 and Transformers Dark of the Moon 2011, sharing strong on-screen chemistry with Josh Duhamel's William Lennox. Their dynamic gave fans one of the most memorable human storylines of the trilogy. While Tyrese is now equally beloved as Roman Pierce in the Fast and Furious saga, his Transformers legacy remains iconic. Fans have long campaigned for his return, especially with Paramount continuing to expand the universe with films like Bumblebee and Transformers Rise of the Beast. And now with reports confirming Michael Bay is set to return to direct his 6th Transformers film, this time from a script by Jordan Van Dina, the possibility of Gibson's comeback feels closer than ever. What remains unclear is whether Bay's new installment will continue the Last Night's timeline, build on the newer films, or reboot the saga entirely. So yeah guys, as you hear, Tyrese has been in talks with Michael Bay to do a project. While he was asked about Transformers and returning to that particular franchise, he didn't necessarily disclose what exactly he talked about with Michael Bay, because NDAs are a thing and it could potentially be a number of different projects he could be working on. Possibly not anything to do with Transformers, because Michael Bay, despite him being known for the Transformers movies nowadays, he's remained relatively active and he does other things outside of that franchise. Bayverse. And the only role that he's had in recent years in regards to Transformers is the executive producer role, where he occasionally gives tips and advice to directors such as Travis Knight, Stephen Caple Jr., as well as Josh Cooley, which is kind of the role that Steven Spielberg used to play back when he was advising Michael Bay when he was directing the Transformers movies. As to whom he'll have advising him now that he's back in the fold with Transformers movies is anyone's guess. I would like to believe that they'll probably just have the same team that they had in the latter years of these films. But anyways, back on the topic of Tyrese Gibson returning as Robert Epps. I know this news is probably going to be a good thing to those who want Michael Bay to return to the Bayverse formula of things, because that's something that they enjoyed growing up watching, but it's going to be a bad thing to those who didn't necessarily like the Bayverse films because of the fact that they were bloated with so many human characters. As you guys are aware, Michael Bay loves to ground his movies in realism, and that's one of the things that made Transformers so unique. Having these alien specimens come to Earth and be disguised in these human vehicle forms and have these weird insectoid alien-like looks. And if you're going to have these alien visitors on Earth, chances are that the military are going to get involved, which is why Michael Bay featured them heavily throughout each film. And you could always bank on seeing Robert Epps alongside William Lennox in those movies. But somewhere around the fourth installment, things got a little bit murky and you didn't see those two, but you would occasionally see one over the other. Like in Transformers The Last Night, we did end up getting a chance to see Major Lennox again in the TRF, also known as the Transformers Reaction Force, but Sergeant Epps was nowhere to be seen. And if you guys remember, back when Transformers The Last Night was still in production, there were murmurings going around the internet that Tyrese Gibson could be returning to reprise his role as Epps, but as fate would have it, he would not be able to make it in time to join his former US Air Force military buddy Lennox. If you guys noticed, there was this black bald guy in the TRF group who was most likely going to be Robert Epps if Tyrese was able to do the role, so yeah. But now it looks like he's actually going to be back in the fold, and we're probably going to be seeing him in the Bayverse, unless Michael Bay decides to make him a totally different character in a different continuity, whether it be the Nightverse that starts off with Bumblebee and ends with Transformers Rise of the Beast, or a entirely new continuity where he can basically take his story wherever he wants without having to worry about stepping on any pre-established lore. If he does just so happen to continue with the Bayverse, then there's one major issue that he's going to have to address, and that is the element of Unicron, because as you're aware, Transformers Rise of the Beast already featured that character prominently, and in my opinion more effectively than he was actually featured in Transformers The Last Night. We're talking G1 accurate with his own dialogue, as well as the heralds that work for him, such as Scourge. So if he plans on continuing where he left off with the Chaos Bringer, then he needs to use that character very effectively and a lot better than what they did in Transformers ROTB. And there's also other things that he can utilize, like let's not forget that there is movie tie-in material that was not necessarily in the movies, but for the longest time was considered canonical to those movies until Michael Bay finally had enough of certain story beats from his films being spoiled before they released and decided to just kill the comics altogether. So if he wanted to, he could actually make filler movies showing what the Autobots were up to between the events of Transformers 2007 and Revenge of the Fallen, and between Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon, because there is a lot of material within that continuity to work with, and I'm pretty sure fans would like to see certain characters make a return, such as Ironhide, as well as some of the other characters that didn't get that much screen time, like Sideswipe and Dino, you know, characters that were killed off on screen, as well as characters who were essentially written off without any explanations given, other than the fact that they possibly have been killed off by Cemetery Wind or just simply vanished. So yeah, man, that's where I would go with these movies if I was Michael Bay. The sky is the limit. Like, he can do whatever he wants at the end of the day. I'm pretty sure he is going to bring the usual formula that he has always brought to the table, which is mainly going to consist of mindless explosions and humans. So yeah, but that's all I got for you guys today. What do you think about Tyrese Gibson's interview? Do you feel like he is confirming that Michael Bay is going to be returning to the Bayverse, with him returning as Robert Epps? And how about him playing an entirely different character in a reboot for the Transformers film franchise? Or do you think that it can be for an entirely different film series and not related to Transformers at all? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, I ask you to like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. But if you really enjoyed this video, it would help me out tremendously if you shared it with all your friends and followers on all the different social media outlets. Sharing really makes a difference. But once again, this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.